The phone rang at exactly 2:47 in the afternoon. I was sitting in my recliner, still wearing my hospital bracelet from the knee surgery 3 days ago. The pain medication made everything feel like I was moving through thick honey, but I managed to reach for my phone before it stopped ringing. It was Rebecca, my daughter-in-law. I need you to watch the kids for 2 weeks. Marcus and I are going on a cruise. We already booked it. Her voice had that edge to it. The one that said she was not asking. She was telling. I opened my mouth to explain that I just had major surgery. That my doctor said I needed complete rest for at least a month. That I could barely walk from my bedroom to the bathroom without stopping 3 times. But Rebecca had already hung up. 30 minutes later, a car pulled into my driveway. Through my front window, I saw Rebecca get out, phone pressed to her ear, laughing at something. She opened the back door and 3 children climbed out. My grandchildren. Sophie was 10 years old. Michael was 7. And little Emma was only 4. I watched as Rebecca pointed toward my house, said something to the kids, then got back in her car. She drove away before the children even reached my front door. When I opened the door, 3 pairs of eyes looked up at me. Sophie was holding a plastic grocery bag. Michael had a backpack that looked too small for 2 weeks' worth of clothes. Emma was clutching a stuffed rabbit that had seen better days. "Hi, Grandma," Sophie said quietly. "Mom said we are staying with you." "Come inside," I said, stepping back slowly. My knee was screaming in pain, but I smiled anyway. "Let me see what your mom packed for you." The plastic bag contained exactly 4 items. 2 pairs of underwear for Sophie. 1 shirt for Michael. Pair of socks with holes in them. And nothing at all for Emma. No toothbrushes. No pajamas. No medications if they needed any. No emergency contact numbers. Nothing. Sophie saw me looking at the bag and her face turned red. "Mom was in a hurry. She said you would have stuff we could use." I looked at these 3 children standing in my living room and something inside me shifted. This was not normal. This was not okay. This was not what grandmothers were supposed to deal with right after major surgery. But more importantly, this was not what children were supposed to deal with ever. "Are you guys hungry?" I asked. All 3 heads nodded at the same time. Sophie spoke up again. "We had breakfast, but that was a long time ago. It was almost 3 in the afternoon." These children had not eaten since morning, and their mother had not even left them with snacks for the car ride. I made my way slowly to the kitchen, leaning heavily on the counter for support. My knee felt like someone was driving nails into it with every step, but I pushed through. I made sandwiches. Turkey and cheese because that was what I had. I added apple slices and crackers and poured 3 glasses of milk. The children ate like they had not seen food in days. Emma held her sandwich with both hands, taking huge bites. Michael finished everything on his plate in under 5 minutes. Sophie ate quickly but kept glancing at me like she was afraid I would take the food away. "When did you eat last night?" I asked casually. Sophie looked at Michael. Michael looked at Emma. None of them wanted to answer. "It's okay," I said gently. "I just want to make sure you are getting enough food." "Mom made popcorn for dinner," Sophie finally said. She was tired from packing for the trip. "Corn. For dinner. For 3 growing children." I nodded like this was perfectly normal, even though rage was building in my chest. "What about the night before that?" "We had cereal," Michael offered. "But we ran out of milk, so we used water." I had to turn away and pretend to get something from the refrigerator because I did not want them to see my face. These children were being neglected, starved, treated like they did not matter. And my son Marcus apparently saw nothing wrong with any of it. That night, after I gave the children baths and found them some of my old t-shirts to sleep in, I tucked them into the guest room. All 3 of them wanted to sleep in the same bed. They held hands under the covers. "Grandma," Sophie whispered after I turned off the light. "Are we in trouble?" "No, sweetheart. You are not in trouble at all." "Why would you think that?" "Because Mom said you would be mad that we came to stay. She said you probably did not want us here." I sat on the edge of the bed, my knee throbbing. I wanted to drive to wherever Rebecca and Marcus were and shake them both until their teeth rattled. "I always want you here," I said firmly. You three are my favorite people in the whole world. Your mom was wrong about that. Sophie relaxed a little. Thanks, Grandma. After they fell asleep, I went to my kitchen and made a list. I wrote down everything I had noticed. The lack of proper clothing. The hunger. The fear in their eyes. The way they flinched when I raised my voice even slightly to call them for dinner. Then I made a phone call. Janet Anderson had been my neighbor for 15 years. She was also a retired family court judge. She answered on the second ring. Dorothy, how are you feeling after your surgery? I have a problem, Janet. I need advice and I need it fast. I told her everything. The sudden drop-off. The lack of supplies. The way the children looked and acted. The things they had told me about meals at home. Janet was quiet for a long moment after I finished. How long are they supposed to stay with you? She finally asked. 2 weeks. But Janet, I just had surgery. I can barely take care of myself right now, let alone 3 children. And I do not think Rebecca even cares. Where is Marcus in all this? I do not know. Rebecca said they were going on a cruise together. He must have agreed to this. Dorothy, what I am about to tell you is as a friend, not as a former judge. But you need to document everything. Take photos. Keep records of what the children tell you. And call Child Protective Services if you think there is real neglect happening. I stared at my list. Will they take the children away? Maybe. Maybe not. But someone needs to investigate. And Dorothy, if you need help taking care of them while you recover, I can call some people. We can set up a support system. Thank you, Janet. Mean it. After I hung up, I sat in the dark for a long time. I thought about my son. About the boy he used to be. He had been kind once. Thoughtful. He had helped his father build a treehouse when he was 12. He had volunteered at the animal shelter every weekend in high school. When had he become the kind of man who let his children go hungry? When had he stopped caring? The next morning, I woke up to the sound of Sophie in the kitchen. I looked at the clock. It was 6 in the morning. I grabbed my cane and made my way slowly down the hallway. Sophie was standing on a chair, reaching for the cereal boxes in my cabinet. Michael was setting the table. Emma was sitting quietly at the table, waiting. What are you doing? I asked. Sophie jumped, nearly falling off the chair. I caught her arm to steady her. We are making breakfast, she said. We did not want to wake you up. Mom gets really mad when we wake her up in the morning. My heart cracked a little more. Sweetheart, I am already awake. And you do not have to make breakfast. That is my job. But you are hurt, Sophie said. We can do it. I always make breakfast at home anyway. She was 10 years old. I took a deep breath and smiled. How about we make breakfast together then? You can teach me how you do it. For the next hour, I watched Sophie direct her siblings like a tiny general. She knew exactly how much cereal to pour. She knew that Michael liked his toast with butter but not jam. She knew that Emma needed her food cut into small pieces or she would choke. This child had been raising her siblings for years. After breakfast, I called my doctor. I need home health care, I explained. I am recovering from knee surgery and I unexpectedly have my 3 grandchildren staying with me for 2 weeks. The nurse who showed up that afternoon was named Patricia. She was a large woman with kind eyes and quick hands. She took one look at me struggling to keep up with 3 children while recovering from major surgery and shook her head. You should not be doing this alone, she said bluntly. Where are the parents? On a cruise. Patricia's eyebrows shot up. They left 3 children with you right after surgery. She pulled out her phone. I'm calling my supervisor. We need to get you more help than just me coming once a day. While Patricia made her calls, I sat with the children. We watched cartoons. We read books. I helped Michael sound out words he did not know. I braided Emma's hair. I listened to Sophie talk about school and her friends and her favorite subject, which was science. They were good kids. Sweet kids. They deserved so much better than what they were getting. That evening, Janet came over with dinner. She brought a casserole and fresh bread and a bag full of clothes that her grandchildren had outgrown. I told my daughter about the situation. Janet said quietly while the children ate in the other room. She works for CPS. She said she would come by tomorrow to do a welfare check. He nodded. Thank you. Dorothy, this is serious. If those children are being neglected, there will be an investigation. Marcus and Rebecca could lose custody. No. Are you prepared for that? I looked at Sophie helping Emma cut her chicken. I looked at Michael making silly faces to make his little sister laugh. Yes, I said. I am prepared for whatever it takes to keep them safe. The CPS worker arrived at 10 in the morning. Her name was Linda Chen and she had been doing this job for 12 years. She had seen everything. She spent 3 hours at my house. She interviewed each child separately. She took photos of the clothes they had arrived in. She wrote down everything I told her about their eating habits and their behavior and the things Sophie had said about life at home. When she finished, she sat across from me at my kitchen table. Mrs. Patterson, I'm going to be honest with you. What you have described is neglect. Clear and documented neglect. But the hard part is proving it to a degree that would result in removal from the home. What does that mean? It means that unless there is immediate danger, the courts prefer to keep families together. They will require parenting classes. They will do home visits. They will put services in place. But they rarely remove children on the first investigation. Even when the children are being starved. Linda sighed. I know it does not seem fair. But the system is designed to reunify families, not separate them. What if I wanted to file for custody? Linda looked at me carefully. Do you want to file for custody? I want those children safe. If that means they live with me, then yes. Then you would need a lawyer. You would need to file for grandparent rights. And you would need to prove that the parents are unfit. It is a long process and it is expensive. Can afford it. After Linda left, I called my lawyer. Her name was Margaret Ross, and she had handled my husband's estate when he passed away 5 years ago. Margaret, I need to file for emergency custody of my grandchildren. There was a pause. Tell me everything. I did. Every detail. Every horrible moment. When I finished, Margaret was quiet for so long I thought the call had dropped. Dorothy, this is going to be a battle. Marcus is your son. Rebecca is going to fight you on this. You need to be absolutely certain this is what you want. It is what those children need. All right then. Let me start the paperwork. In the meantime, document everything. And I mean everything. What they eat. What they say. How they act. We will need all of it. Over the next week, my house became something I had not expected. It became a real home again. Sophie started smiling more. She stopped looking over her shoulder every time she laughed. She asked if she could bake cookies and we made a huge mess in the kitchen and it was wonderful. Michael brought me drawings he had made at school. He told me about his teacher and his best friend and how he wanted to be a firefighter when he grew up. Emma started calling me grandma all the time instead of just when she remembered. She would climb into my lap while I sat in my recliner and we would read books together. But I also noticed other things. Darker things. Sophie had nightmares. She would wake up crying, calling for her mom, then remember where she was and go quiet. Michael hoarded food. He hid crackers under his pillow. He stuffed granola bars in his backpack. When I asked him why, he said he liked to have snacks just in case. Emma was terrified of making mistakes. If she spilled her milk, she would start crying and apologizing over and over. If she colored outside the lines, she would rip up the entire picture. These were not normal childhood behaviors. These were trauma responses. I took photos of everything. I wrote down every conversation. I kept every piece of documentation. And I waited for Rebecca and Marcus to come home. They arrived exactly 2 weeks after they had left. Rebecca texted me at noon. We will pick up the kids at 6 tonight. Make sure they are ready. Texted back. We need to talk when you get here. There was no response. At 6 o'clock sharp, a car pulled into my driveway. Both Rebecca and Marcus got out. They were tanned and relaxed. Rebecca was wearing new jewelry. Marcus had a new watch. They had spent 2 weeks on a luxury cruise while their children learned what it felt like to be cared for. I opened the door before they could knock. Come in. The children are in the playroom. Rebecca breezed past me. She smelled like expensive perfume. Thanks for watching them. I hope they were not too much trouble. Actually, I said we need to have a conversation. Both of you. Sit down. Rebecca rolled her eyes but sat on my couch. Marcus remained standing, looking uncomfortable. Pulled out my folder. The one with all my documentation. I spread it across the coffee table. What is this? Marcus asked. This is proof that you two are neglecting your children. Excuse me, Rebecca's voice went sharp. How dare you accuse us of neglect? We provide everything those children need. Really, I said calmly. Is that why they arrived here with no clothes, no toothbrushes, and no food? Is that why Sophie told me she makes breakfast every morning because you sleep until noon? Is that why Michael hoards food because he is not sure when his next meal will come? Rebecca's face flushed red. Those children are liars. They are manipulating you. I looked at my son. Marcus, when was the last time you helped Michael with his homework? When was the last time you read Emma a bedtime story? When was the last time you actually spent time with your children instead of just working to pay for Rebecca's lifestyle? Marcus looked at the floor. Mom, you do not understand. I work hard to provide for my family. You work hard to provide money, I corrected. But children need more than money. They need parents who care. Parents who feed them real meals. Parents who do not dump them with their injured grandmother so they can go on vacation. This is ridiculous. Rebecca stood up. We are leaving and we are taking our children with us. Actually, I said, you are not. I pulled out the letter from my lawyer. I filed for emergency custody this morning. There is a hearing scheduled for next week. Until then, the children stay here. The room exploded. Rebecca screamed. She called me horrible names. She threatened to call the police. She said I would never see the children again after this. Marcus just stared at me. Mom, how could you do this? I am your son. That is exactly why I am doing this, I said. Because you are my son and I raised you better than this. I taught you to take care of the people you love. I taught you that children come first. Somewhere along the way you forgot all of that. Rebecca grabbed her purse. We are getting a lawyer. You will regret this. I already have a lawyer. And the only thing I regret is not doing this sooner. They left. Marcus did not even ask to see the children before they went. After they were gone, Sophie appeared in the doorway. She had been listening. Grandma, are we staying here? For now, yes. She ran to me and hugged me tight. But I like it here. The custody hearing was scheduled for the following Thursday. I spent the days leading up to it preparing. Margaret came over multiple times to go over our case. We had documentation from CPS. We had statements from Patricia, the home health nurse. We had photos and recordings and written accounts of everything the children had told me. But Rebecca and Marcus had hired an expensive lawyer. A man named Richard Stedman who specialized in family law and had a reputation for winning. On Thursday morning, I put on my best dress. I made sure the children looked clean and neat. Sophie wore a blue dress that Janet had brought over. Michael wore khakis and a button-up shirt. Emma wore a pink dress with flowers on it. We all drove to the courthouse together. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Judge Helen Morrison sat at the bench. She was in her 60s with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Margaret presented our case first. She called me to the stand. Mrs. Patterson, can you describe the condition of the children when they arrived at your home? I told her everything. The lack of clothes, the hunger, the fear. The way Sophie had taken on the role of parent. The way Michael hoarded food. The way Emma apologized for every tiny mistake. And during these 2 weeks, how have the children behaved? They have thrived, I said simply. They are happy. They are fed. They are safe. They act like children should act. Then it was Richard Stedman's turn to cross-examine me. Mrs. Patterson, is it not true that you recently had major surgery? And is it not true that caring for 3 children while recovering from surgery would be difficult? Yes, but I had help. I had home health care and neighbors and friends. So you could not care for them alone. I could not do everything alone, I admitted. But I made sure they were cared for. Which is more than their parents did. Objection, Margaret said. Argumentative. Sustained, Judge Morrison said. Mrs. Patterson, please just answer the questions. Stedman continued. Is it not true that you have a history of interfering in your son's marriage? No, that is not true. But you have expressed concerns about his wife before. I have expressed concerns about how my grandchildren were being treated. Because you do not approve of Rebecca. I do not approve of child neglect. Margaret called other witnesses. Patricia testified about my recovery and about the state of the children when she first saw them. Linda from CPS testified about her investigation and her findings. Then it was Rebecca's turn to testify. She looked beautiful. She wore a conservative dress and minimal makeup. She cried at all the right moments. I love my children more than anything, she said, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. I know I am not perfect. I know I made mistakes. But I have been so overwhelmed. Marcus works all the time and I am alone with 3 children and I just needed a break. So you left them with an injured woman without proper supplies, Margaret said. I thought Dorothy would have things they could use. I was wrong. I see that now. And the meals? Why were the children eating popcorn for dinner and cereal with water? Rebecca's lawyer objected, but Judge Morrison allowed the question. We were going through a hard time financially, Rebecca said. Marcus had just lost a big account at work. We were trying to cut costs. But you went on a cruise, Margaret pointed out. That was a gift from my parents. It was already paid for. The hearing lasted 4 hours. By the end I was exhausted. My knee was screaming. The children were restless. Judge Morrison looked at all of us. I am going to take a short recess to review the evidence. We will reconvene in 30 minutes. Those 30 minutes felt like hours. Sophie held my hand. Michael leaned against me. Emma climbed into my lap. What if we have to go back? Sophie whispered. Then we will deal with it together, I whispered back. But I am going to fight for you no matter what. When we went back into the courtroom, Judge Morrison looked serious. I have reviewed all the evidence presented today. I have considered testimony from both sides. And I have thought long and hard about what is in the best interest of these 3 children. My heart was pounding so hard I thought everyone could hear it. It is clear to me that there has been neglect in the home. Whether intentional or due to circumstances, these children have not been receiving adequate care. However, I also see 2 parents who claim to love their children and want to improve. Therefore, I am ordering the following. Temporary custody will be granted to Dorothy Patterson for a period of 6 months. During this time, Marcus and Rebecca Mitchell will attend parenting classes. They will undergo family counseling. They will have supervised visitation with the children twice a week. Rebecca started crying. Real tears this time. At the end of 6 months, we will reconvene and assess whether the parents have made sufficient improvements to warrant returning custody. If not, Mrs. Patterson's custody will become permanent. Judge Morrison looked at Marcus and Rebecca. Let me be very clear. If you do not take this seriously, if you do not make real changes, you will lose your children. Not because of a vindictive grandmother, but because you failed in your most important job as parents. Do you understand? Yes, Your Honor, Marcus said quietly. Rebecca just nodded, still crying. Court is adjourned. The first month of temporary custody was the hardest. The children were adjusting to a routine they had never experienced before. Regular meals, consistent bedtimes, homework help, baths every night, clean clothes every day. Sophie struggled the most. She had been the parent for so long that she did not know how to be a child. She would wake up at dawn and try to get her siblings ready. She would hover in the kitchen while I made breakfast, offering to help with everything. One morning I found her crying in the bathroom. Sweetheart, what is wrong? I do not know how to just be a kid, she said through her tears. Feel useless, like I should be doing something important. I sat down on the bathroom floor with her, my knee protesting the whole way. Sophie, you spent years being the grown-up. Years making sure Michael and Emma were okay. You did an amazing job. But now it is time to let me be the grown-up. You get to just be 10 years old. But what if you need help? What if something happens and I am not there? Then I will handle it. That is what grandmothers do. And you know what else 10-year-olds do? They play. They laugh. They make messes. They forget to brush their teeth sometimes. They watch cartoons on Saturday morning. They are allowed to be silly and loud and carefree. Sophie looked at me with those big eyes. Can I really do that? You can really do that. It took weeks, but slowly Sophie started to relax. She joined the after-school science club. She made friends with a girl named Amy who lived down the street. She started leaving her bedroom messy and forgetting to make her bed. And every time she did something irresponsible and childish, I celebrated it silently, because it meant she was finally healing. Michael had different struggles. He had learned to be invisible at home, to not make noise, to not ask for things, to not take up space. At my house, he did not know how to act when he was allowed to be loud and messy and demanding. The first time he spilled juice on my carpet, he froze. His face went white. He started shaking. "Michael, it is okay," I said quickly. "It was an accident." But he just stood there, trembling, waiting for me to yell. I knelt down next to him, ignoring the pain in my knee. "Sweetheart, look at me. Accidents happen. We clean them up and we move on. Nobody is going to yell at you. Nobody is going to punish you. It is just juice." Took him a full minute to start breathing normally again. Over the next few weeks, I made a point of showing him that mistakes were normal. I burned toast and laughed about it. I dropped a plate and said oops. I forgot where I put my glasses and asked for his help finding them. Slowly, Michael started to understand that perfection was not required in my house. Emma was the youngest and in some ways the most damaged. At 4 years old, she should have been chattering constantly, asking endless questions, exploring everything. Instead, she was quiet. Too quiet. She watched everything with wary eyes. She asked permission for everything. She apologized for existing. "Can I have some water?" she would whisper. "Course you can. You never have to ask permission for water." "I'm sorry." "You do not need to be sorry, sweetheart. This is your home. You can get water whenever you want it." 5 minutes later she would ask again. As if she had forgotten. As if she was testing to see if the rules had changed. It broke my heart every single time. But children are resilient. And with consistency and love and patience, they heal. By the end of the first month, Emma was asking for things without apologizing. She was playing with toys instead of just sitting quietly. She was laughing at cartoons. She was becoming the 4-year-old she was supposed to be. The supervised visits with Rebecca and Marcus were painful to watch. They happened twice a week at a family services center downtown. A social worker named Brenda sat in the room and took notes while the parents spent 2 hours with their children. Rebecca was terrible at it. She would show up late, complaining about traffic. She would spend half the visit on her phone. She would get frustrated when the children did not act exactly how she wanted them to. During the 3rd visit, Emma tried to show her a picture she had colored. "That is nice, honey," Rebecca said without looking up from her phone. "I made it for you," Emma said quietly. I said, "It is nice. What else do you want me to say?" Emma's face crumpled. She took her picture and went to sit in the corner. Rebecca did not even notice. Marcus was different. He was trying. Really trying. He would bring books to read to Emma. He would play board games with Michael. He would ask Sophie about school and actually listen to her answers. But the damage had been done. The children were polite with him but distant. They did not trust him yet. During one visit, Michael asked his dad a simple question. "Dad, can you come to my soccer game on Saturday?" Marcus hesitated. "I have to check my work schedule." Michael's face went blank. "Bae." "Actually," Marcus said quickly. Seeing his son's reaction, "I will make it work." "What time is the game?" 3 o'clock. "I will be there. Promise." Michael did not believe him. I could see it in his eyes. But Marcus showed up. He was 15 minutes late and he had to take a work call during halftime, but he showed up. And when Michael scored a goal, Marcus cheered louder than anyone else. After the game, Michael ran to him. "Did you see that, Dad? Did you see me score?" "I saw it, buddy. You were amazing." It was a small moment. But it was a start. As the weeks turned into months, patterns emerged. Rebecca was getting worse. She missed visits. She complained constantly. She fought with Marcus in front of the children. She clearly resented the entire process. Marcus was getting better. He finished his parenting classes. He went to every counseling session. He showed up for the children even when it was inconvenient. During one of our conversations after he dropped the kids off from a visit, Marcus sat at my kitchen table and cried. I did not know Mom. I swear I did not know how bad things were. Believe you. I was so focused on work, on making money, on keeping Rebecca happy so she would not leave. I did not see what was happening to my own children. You see it now. That is what matters. He wiped his eyes. Rebecca wants me to drop the divorce. She says if I do, she will be a better mother. She will change. Do you believe her? Marcus shook his head. Well, she is only doing this because she might lose the kids. Not because she actually cares about them. Then you know what you have to do. The divorce is going to be ugly. Most divorces are. But your children are worth it. 3 months into the temporary custody arrangement, Rebecca stopped coming to visits. She sent a text saying she was too stressed and needed space. Brenda, the social worker, called me immediately. Mrs. Patterson, I need to let you know that Rebecca has missed 3 consecutive visits. This does not look good for her case. Understand. The children are asking about her. What should I tell them? Tell them the truth. Their mother is going through some things and she needs time. But they are safe and loved, and that is not going to change. The children took the news differently. Sophie said good. I did not want to go anyway. Michael shrugged like he had expected it. Emma cried. But not because she missed her mother. She cried because she thought it was her fault. Did I do something wrong, Grandma? Is that why Mommy does not want to see us? I held her close. Oh, sweetheart, no. You did nothing wrong. Nothing at all. Your mommy is dealing with grown-up problems that have nothing to do with you. But she does not love us. Cannot speak for your mother. But I can tell you this. Love you. Your dad loves you. Your siblings love you. And that is enough. Emma buried her face in my shoulder. Promise you will not leave us too. Promise. I am not going anywhere. Month 4 brought another crisis. Rebecca hired a new lawyer. A woman named Diane Foster, who was known for playing dirty. Diane filed motions claiming I was poisoning the children against their mother. She claimed I was too old and infirm to properly care for 3 young children. She even suggested that I had coached the children to lie about their home life. Margaret was furious. This is completely unfounded, she said during one of our prep meetings. But we need to be prepared. They are going to attack your age, your health, your motives. Everything. Let them, I said calmly. The truth is on our side. The hearing to review the temporary custody arrangement happened exactly 6 months after the first hearing. This time there were more people in the courtroom. More lawyers. More witnesses. More at stake. Diane Foster went after me hard. Mrs. Patterson, how old are you? 68. And you have health problems. Had knee surgery. Have recovered. But you still have limitations. Everyone has limitations. Can you honestly tell this court that you can keep up with 3 active children? I've been keeping up with them for 6 months. Ask them if they are unhappy. Diane turned to the judge. Your Honor, we would like to call Sophie Mitchell to the stand. My heart stopped. They were going to make Sophie testify. Judge Morrison looked troubled but allowed it. Sophie walked to the witness stand in her Sunday dress. She looked tiny sitting in that big chair. Diane smiled at her. Sophie, do you love your grandmother? Yes. But is not it hard for her to take care of you? Is not she old and tired? Sophie frowned. Grandma is not too old. She helps me with homework and makes me breakfast and comes to my science club meetings. My mom never did any of that. But would not you rather be with your mother? Well. The courtroom went silent. No, Sophie repeated firmly. My mom does not care about us. She proved that when she stopped coming to visits. Grandma actually loves us. Diane tried to recover. Surely you miss your mother. I miss the mom I wish I had. But I never really had that mom. So there is nothing to miss. Judge Morrison called for a recess after that. I found Sophie in the hallway crying. I'm sorry, Grandma. Was I not supposed to say that? I hugged her tight. You told the truth. That is exactly what you were supposed to do. But now everyone knows Mom does not love us. Sophie, I think everyone already knew that. You just said it out loud. Marcus testified next. He talked about the changes he had made, the therapy he had completed, the parenting classes, the consistent visits, his plans for the future. And then he said something I was not expecting. Your Honor, I am requesting joint custody with my mother. I want the children to live primarily with me, but I want them to spend every weekend and holiday with her. She has given them stability and love when I failed to. I do not want to take that away from them. Diane objected immediately, but Judge Morrison silenced her. Mr. Mitchell, are you saying you want to share custody with your mother rather than your wife? Rebecca is not capable of being the mother these children need. My mother has proven that she is. I want what is best for my children, even if it means admitting I cannot do it alone. Rebecca took the stand and it was a disaster. Diane tried to paint her as a victim, a stressed mother who made mistakes but loved her children. But when Margaret cross-examined her, everything fell apart. Mrs. Mitchell, why did you stop attending supervised visits with your children? I was dealing with personal issues. More important than your children. Rebecca hesitated too long. I needed space. You needed space from your children. That is not what I meant. What did you mean? I meant I needed space from all of this. From the judgment and the lawyers and the constant scrutiny. So you abandoned your children because you were uncomfortable. I did not abandon anyone. You missed 12 consecutive visits. How would you describe that? Rebecca started crying again. But this time it did not work. Judge Morrison looked disgusted. Mrs. Mitchell, I have seen enough. She turned to address the entire courtroom. I have reviewed all the evidence. I have heard testimony from multiple witnesses. I have considered the children's best interests above all else. Here is my ruling. Full custody is granted to Marcus Mitchell with joint physical custody shared with Dorothy Patterson. The children will live primarily with their father during the week, and with Mrs. Patterson on weekends and school breaks. Rebecca Mitchell's parental rights are not being terminated at this time. However, all visitation will remain supervised and contingent on her completion of a comprehensive psychological evaluation and parenting program. If she fails to complete these requirements within 6 months, we will revisit the matter. Rebecca stood up shouting, "This is not fair. You are taking my children away from me." Judge Morrison's gaze was ice cold. Mrs. Mitchell, you took yourself away from your children. This court is simply making it official. If you want a relationship with them, you will do the work required. If not, then you have made your choice. Rebecca stormed out of the courtroom, Diane Foster hurrying after her. Marcus came over to me, tears streaming down his face. Thank you, Mom. Thank you for saving them when I could not. We saved them together, I said. Now we just have to keep saving them every single day. The transition to the new custody arrangement took a few weeks to work out. Marcus found a house near mine, big enough for 3 children with a backyard for playing. He cut back his hours at work and started actually being present for his kids. The first week the children stayed with him during the week was hard. Emma cried every night. Michael worried that I would not be there on Friday. Sophie called me every evening just to hear my voice. But slowly they adjusted. Marcus proved he was serious about being a real father. He made them breakfast before school. He packed their lunches. He helped with homework. He attended every school event and every soccer game and every science club meeting. He made mistakes. Lots of them. He burned dinner more times than I could count. He forgot about picture day at school. He let Michael stay up too late one night and the kid was exhausted the next day. But he tried. And that made all the difference. On weekends, the children came to my house. We had our routines. Saturday morning pancakes. Saturday afternoon at the library or the park. Sunday church followed by family dinner. They had 2 homes now. 2 safe places. 2 adults who loved them unconditionally. It was not perfect, but it was so much better than what they had before. Rebecca completed her psychological evaluation after 3 months. The results were not good. The psychologist diagnosed her with narcissistic personality traits and recommended intensive therapy before any unsupervised contact with the children. Rebecca refused the therapy. She said the psychologist was biased. She said the whole system was rigged against her. And then she disappeared. She moved to another state. She stopped calling. She stopped sending birthday cards. She simply erased herself from her children's lives. Sophie said she was not surprised. Michael said he did not care. Emma asked a few times where her mommy went, but eventually she stopped asking. Marcus handled it as best he could. He did not badmouth Rebecca to the children. He just told them that sometimes adults make choices that are hard to understand, but it was not the children's fault. The first year after the custody ruling was exhausting. There were so many adjustments, so many challenges, so many moments where I wondered if I had done the right thing. But then I would see Sophie laughing with her friends. I would watch Michael score a goal at soccer and look to the stands to see both his dad and me cheering. I would feel Emma's small hand slip into mine while we read bedtime stories. And I knew I had done exactly the right thing. Year 2 brought more healing. The nightmares became less frequent. The food hoarding stopped completely. Emma stopped apologizing for everything. Michael learned to make noise and take up space without fear. Sophie joined the debate team and discovered she had a talent for public speaking. They were becoming the children they were always meant to be. Marcus met someone during year 2. Her name was Jennifer and she was a third-grade teacher. She was patient and kind and she did not try to replace the children's mother. She just loved them for who they were. The first time Marcus brought her to Sunday dinner, all 3 children were suspicious. They watched her carefully. They tested her to see if she would fail. But Jennifer passed every test. She listened when Sophie talked about science. She played catch with Michael in the backyard. She did puzzles with Emma without getting frustrated when pieces went missing. After dinner, Sophie pulled me aside. "Do you like her, Grandma?" "Do. Do you like her?" Sophie shrugged. "She is okay. She is nice to Dad. That is important. It is very important. Do you think Dad will marry her? Would that be okay with you?" Sophie thought about it for a long moment. "I think it would be okay. As long as we still get to come here on weekends. Always, I promised. That will never change." Marcus and Jennifer got married 2 years after Rebecca left. It was a small ceremony in my backyard. Sophie was the maid of honor. Michael was the best man. Emma was the flower girl. Rebecca was not invited. She did not even know about the wedding. During the ceremony, Marcus said something in his vows that made me cry. "Jennifer, you are not just marrying me. You are choosing to love 3 incredible children who have been through more than any child should endure. You are choosing to be patient when they struggle. You are choosing to celebrate their victories. You are choosing to be a safe place for them to land. That is a bigger commitment than marriage. And I love you for making that choice." Jennifer's response was simple. "I am not trying to be their mother. They already had a mother and she failed them. I am just trying to be someone they can count on. Someone who shows up. Someone who stays." The children cried. Even Marcus's tough Uncle Bob cried. It was a perfect day. Year 3 brought the news that Jennifer was pregnant. The children had mixed reactions. Sophie was excited. She had always wanted a baby sibling she could actually help take care of by choice, not by necessity. Michael was worried. What if Dad does not have time for us anymore? Emma was confused. Will the new baby have to go away like we did? We sat down as a family to talk about it. Marcus and Jennifer were patient with every question and every fear. "This baby will not replace any of you," Marcus said firmly. "You are my children and you will always be my priority. Yes, a new baby will take up time and energy. But that does not mean I love you any less. And you will always have your weekends with Grandma," Jennifer added. "That will never change." "Will you still come to my soccer games?" Michael asked his dad. "Every single one. Promise." Slowly the children relaxed. By the time their baby sister was born, they were excited to meet her. Her name was Lily and she was perfect. Sophie loved holding her. Michael was protective of her. Emma talked to her constantly, telling her stories and singing songs. They were a real family now. A blended, complicated, beautiful family. But the weekends with me remained sacred. Every Friday afternoon, the children would arrive at my house with their backpacks and their stories from the week. We would make dinner together. We would watch movies. We would stay up too late talking about everything and nothing. On Saturday mornings, I would make pancakes and we would plan our day. Sometimes we went to the park. Sometimes we went to the movies. Sometimes we just stayed home and did puzzles. On Sunday mornings, we went to church. Then we came home and made a big family dinner. Sometimes Marcus and Jennifer and baby Lily would join us. Sometimes it was just me and the 3 original children. Those weekends were my favorite part of every week. Sophie turned 15. She was confident and smart and had big dreams of becoming a doctor. She had friends. She had hobbies. She had a life that was full of possibility. But she still needed her grandma sometimes. She still came to me with questions about boys and school and her future. She still called me when she was stressed or scared or happy. Michael turned 12. He was on the traveling soccer team. He had a group of friends who came over to play video games. He was thinking about trying out for the school play. He was loud and messy and forgetful and perfectly normal. He still hugged me goodbye every Sunday evening. He still told me about his week. He still needed his grandma. Emma turned 9. She was reading chapter books. She loved art class. She had a best friend named Maya who came over for sleepovers. She barely remembered the scared, quiet 4-year-old she had been. But sometimes on hard days she would climb into my lap like she used to and just let me hold her. I turned 73. My knee bothered me more than it used to. I moved a little slower, got tired more easily. But I was happier than I had been in years. Because I had saved 3 children. And in saving them they had saved me too. People ask me sometimes if I regret what I did. If I regret the legal battles and the money I spent and the relationship with Rebecca that was destroyed. I tell them the same thing every time. How can I regret the best decision I ever made? Those children deserved someone who would fight for them. Someone who would stand up and say this is not acceptable. Someone who would sacrifice their own comfort and convenience to make sure they were safe. I was their grandmother. Fighting for them was not a choice. It was a responsibility. Would I do it again? Absolutely. Would I recommend other grandparents do the same if they see neglect or abuse? Without question. Because children cannot advocate for themselves. They cannot call lawyers or file court papers or demand better treatment. They need adults to do that for them. And sometimes those adults have to be grandparents who refuse to look the other way. The system is not perfect. It is slow and frustrating and expensive. There were times I wanted to give up. Times I wondered if it was worth the fight. But every time I looked at Sophie's smile or heard Michael's laugh or felt Emma's hug, I knew it was worth it. Every single battle. Every single dollar. Every single sleepless night. They were worth it all. Now, as I sit in my living room with photos of my grandchildren covering every surface, I think about how far we have all come. Sophie is applying to colleges. She wants to study medicine. She wants to help people the way I helped her. Michael is thinking about playing soccer in college. He has scouts looking at him. He has a future that is bright and full of opportunity. Emma wants to be a teacher like Jennifer. She wants to help kids who are struggling. She wants to make a difference. They are going to be amazing adults. And they are going to make this world better. All because someone refused to let them be forgotten. Rebecca never came back. We heard through family that she remarried. That she moved across the country. That she started a new life that did not include her first 3 children. Part of me is angry about that. Part of me will always be angry that a mother could walk away from her children so easily. But most of me is just grateful that she is gone. Because her absence allowed Marcus to become the father he was meant to be. It allowed the children to heal without constantly being re-traumatized. It allowed them to build lives that were stable and secure. Sometimes the best thing a bad parent can do is leave. Last Sunday we had a big family dinner at my house. All of us together. Marcus and Jennifer and baby Lily, who is not a baby anymore but a walking, talking 3-year-old. Sophie and Michael and Emma. My neighbor Janet, who had become like family. Patricia the nurse, who still checked on me sometimes just to visit. We were loud. We were messy. We were chaotic. We were perfect. After dinner, Sophie gave a toast. She raised her glass of sparkling cider and looked at me. To Grandma. The woman who saved us. The woman who fought for us when no one else would. The woman who showed us what real love looks like. We would not be here without you. We would not be happy without you. We would not be ourselves without you. Thank you for everything. Thank you for being brave. Thank you for not giving up. Thank you for loving us enough to fight. Everyone clinked glasses. I tried not to cry but failed miserably. This, I thought, looking around at all the faces I loved. This is what life is supposed to be. Not perfect, not easy, but full of love and laughter and people who show up for each other. That phone call 5 years ago changed everything. Rebecca thought she was just dumping her kids on me for a vacation. She thought I would do what I always did. Take care of things quietly. Not make waves. Not cause problems. She was wrong. Because I was not just a grandmother. I was a warrior. I was a protector. I was someone who understood that love sometimes means fighting battles that seem impossible. And I won. Not because I was smarter or richer or more powerful. I won because I refused to quit. Because I documented everything. Because I asked for help. Because I stood up in court and told the truth. I won because those children deserved someone who would not give up on them. If you are reading this story, if you are watching this video, and you know a child who is being neglected or abused or mistreated, I am begging you to do something. Call someone. Document what you see. Talk to a lawyer. Contact Child Protective Services. Do not assume someone else will handle it. Do not assume it is not your business. Children are everyone's business. They deserve adults who will fight for them. They deserve to grow up feeling safe and loved and valued. And sometimes, just sometimes, all it takes is one person who refuses to look away. Be that person. Fight that fight. Save that child. Because 5 years from now you will look back and know you made the right choice. Just like I did. My daughter-in-law thought she could use me. She thought I was just a tired old woman who would do whatever she was told. She learned the hard way that grandmothers are not to be underestimated. We have lived long enough to know what matters. We have seen enough to recognize evil when we see it. We have loved deeply enough to fight fiercely. And we will burn the whole world down to protect our grandchildren. That is not a threat. That is a promise. Rebecca made the mistake of forgetting that. She made the mistake of thinking her children were disposable. She made the mistake of underestimating the power of a grandmother who had nothing left to lose. And she lost everything because of it. I gained everything. I gained 3 beautiful grandchildren who are thriving. I gained a relationship with my son that is stronger than ever. I gained a new daughter-in-law who actually cares about my grandchildren. I gained a purpose in my retirement years that I never expected. Gained a family. And that is worth every battle I had to fight. So thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for taking the time to hear about 3 children who needed saving and 1 grandmother who refused to let them fall. Share this story if it moved you. Comment below if you have your own story to tell. Let me know where you are watching from and what this meant to you. Because stories like this need to be told. They need to be shared. They need to inspire other people to take action when they see children suffering. One voice can change everything. One call can save a life. One grandmother can defeat a broken system and bring 3 children home. I did it. And if you need to, you can do it too. Never underestimate the power of love. Never underestimate the strength of someone fighting for a child. Never underestimate a grandmother who has decided enough is enough. We are stronger than we look. We are braver than we feel. We are more determined than anyone expects. And we will win. Every single time. Because our grandchildren are worth it. And nothing, absolutely nothing, will stop us from protecting them.